Manuka honey can be described as a very sweet-tasting food produced naturally by bees from plant nectars and plant secretions. It is produced by placing hives in the right location to allow the bees to forage on Manuka nectar. The Manuka tree grows only in New Zealand and Australia, but authentic Manuka honey can only be harvested, packed and tested in New Zealand. So essentially all authentic Manuka honey sold in the world originates in New Zealand. What sets Manuka honey apart from others is its supposed health benefits, which include antibacterial and anti-inflammatory effects. You often see on the jars the letters UMF, which stands for Unique Manuka Factor. This is because Manuka honey contains a unique and vital ingredient called methyl glyoxal, which is responsible for the honey's non-peroxide activity. It is the level of these desirable MPA properties which determine the potency of its antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties. Because of the claimed health benefits, Manuka honey is very expensive. Comvita, a New Zealand health honey producer, sells UMF Manuka honey for $279. A food supply chain refers to the processes that describe how food moves from farm to plate. These processes include production, processing, distribution, consumption, and disposal. The food moves systematically through each stage, each of which requires a form of human or natural resources and are essential in the formation of the final product. Seeing as Manuka honey is a product for human consumption, there lies an incredible responsibility throughout the supply chain to uphold the safety and reliability of the honey and to minimise the risk of potential contaminants. Additionally, with the increasing popularity of this premium and exclusive product comes a need for robust regulations to ensure the quality and authenticity of the honey is maintained. There are many activities and processes that must be completed before Manuka honey can be fit for export. Here are just a few of the requirements that are imposed in New Zealand throughout the supply chain from production to consumption. Two of the most important regulatory influences on Manuka honey is the Interim Labelling Guide and ensuring the product is fit for purpose. The Interim Labelling Guide was developed by the Ministry of Primary Industries to better validate Manuka honey and its labelling. The development of the Interim Labelling Guide aids in distinguishing authentic Manuka honey from products from imitation and provides clarity for consumers so that they may feel confident in their purchases. The Interim Labelling Guide has two stages. The first stage focuses predominantly on issues surrounding labelling, including health and therapeutic claims that are commonly associated with the consumption of Manuka honey, as well as providing a list of Manuka honey's natural characteristics, such as colour, conductivity ranges, and their aromatic properties. By specifying these characteristics, it provides an indication to manufacturers, regulators, and consumers as to what sensory attributes and compounds should be observed in honey labelled as Manuka. The second step is testing honey to determine if it possesses Manuka honey's unique characteristics. In December 2017, the Ministry of Primary Industries established a scientific definition that allows for a definitive and transparent difference between honey that can and cannot be labelled as Manuka honey. The new regulation means that the sample for every batch of honey intended to be labelled as Manuka for export must be tested by an MPI recognised laboratory to determine whether it meets the new Manuka honey requirements. The test involves identifying a combination of 5 attributes, which include 4 chemicals from nectar and 1 DNA marker from Manuka pollen. If the honey does not meet one or more of these criteria, then it cannot be labelled as New Zealand Manuka honey. The second significant regulatory influence is ensuring the Manuka honey is fit for purpose. For bee products to comply as fit for purpose, beekeepers must ensure several points are managed. Bees cannot be fed anything other than honey for the duration of the harvest season, the only exception being if it is absolutely necessary for bee survival. Where beekeepers have used alternative feeding methods, it is mandatory to document the circumstances with justification for these actions. It is also important that harvested bee products do not contain external materials, objects, or substances that are not intended to be prepared and packed for trade. Where the potential presence of expected substances have occurred, they must not exceed the relevant permissible regulatory levels. At the time of harvest, the honey must be free of clinical signs of AFB, or American foulbreed, which is a bacterial disease, and after extraction, operators must ensure that the bee products intended to be marketed as honey have nothing more than honey added to it. There are a significant number of challenges and opportunities for Manuka honey exports in New Zealand. We're the world's third largest exporter of honey by value, behind China and Argentina. However, we are only the 16th biggest global supplier on a volume basis, reflecting the premium price garnered from Nuke honey, which accounts for as much as 80% of New Zealand's exports. Therefore, there are huge opportunities for New Zealand to continually expand and develop in overseas markets. One of the main issues, however, has been the lack of pro-regulatory control in relation to Manuka definition. Until recently, a scientific definition of Manuka honey had not been determined, creating huge inconsistencies in the labelling of Manuka honey, and resulted in multiple companies using a variety of terms and claims and selling counterfeit products, so they may demand a premium price. This resulted in a loss of consumer confidence, and there was a lot of uncertainty about what brands were genuine and authentic in their claims. With the introduction of the interim labelling guide, there is now a clear and concise scientific definition that must be abided by. The definition of Manuka honey is an important regulation to establish, as it brings credibility to claims made on honey labelling. Overall, regulations surrounding food products protect the health and safety of consumers, ensure the provision of adequate information so consumers can make informed decisions, and prevents the addition of misleading or deceptive labelling. This has positive effects on consumer health as well as increased savings for government outlay for public health care. The negative implications bear mostly on the farmers and manufacturers, who have to deal with the extra time and cost it takes to comply with these regulations. However, the degree to which consumers value more stringent labelling requirements and honey information should reflect an increase in demand, which in turn means a better profit. While the cost of labelling regulation originally lies with food manufacturers, some or nearly all costs will be passed forward to the consumer. For retailers and service outlets also have to abide by certain food safety and operational codes, which also harbour a cost. Therefore, consumers are having to pay more for products in order to cover the costs of adhering to regulation, but in saying that, they can be sure that the products they are buying are safe to consume and all the information carried on the label is true and accurate.